Will anyone survive Isaku's plans with their mind intact? Find out after the title. Hey guys, and welcome back to the H-Binder. I'm Bobby, your host, and today we are looking at the third and final episode of Isaku. Now, this was about as dark as I was expecting. I actually, production-wise, was expecting a little more from this one. It's Pink Pineapple. I personally am realizing I'm actually a Pink Pineapple fan. I like their productions generally. And I kind of found this one a little lackluster and a little ugly. But I found the writing on this one to be actually pretty strong. And I'm interested enough where I'm curious how this is all going to end. Like, are we going to get an ending where Isaku and his lackeys get what they deserve after everything they've done? Are we going to get the nihilistic ending where Isaku wins in the end? How are these characters going to come out of this? Like, what is going to happen? So, having said that, I'm actually very excited to go into this episode, which is weird to say because it's not a very pleasant show to watch. But the story is compelling enough where I want to know what is going to happen next. That also means I most likely in the future, probably not the next, it's going to be a little farther out, but in the future I plan on covering more in this series. So I will probably do in release order, so Shusaku would be the next one in the series that I would cover, but that's going to be probably a couple months away. I am developing a release schedule. I actually have a rough schedule up until the end of 2027, and I haven't even, saying that, I'm just using this and maybe a few like shows that I could find here or there. I haven't even gotten through a quarter of what's in here by doing that schedule. So we got content for a while. But I, in an odd way, I think I enjoyed this more than Magical Twilight because there is something compelling there. There are stakes to what happens to these characters. Characters could potentially die. Characters could potentially just lose their minds forever. Like, who knows where this is going to go? So I'm happy to see where it ends. And hopefully, I would prefer not to get the nihilistic ending. I would prefer to have an ending where there is some justice for the people in the show, but who knows? Who knows? The tone of this one is kind of telling me it ain't going to be a happy ending, which, hey, them's the breaks in horror. All right, so let's get this episode started, and I will see you guys on the other side after I have watched it. All right, here we go for the last episode of Isaku. All right, we're on the other side of episode 3 of Isaku, the final episode. And we do get a definitive ending with this final episode. Is it the ending I wanted? Yes and no. But I think for what it is, I think it works. It also points out some of the issues with using a story from something like an eroge, where you have a lot of options of where the story can go and character interactions and stuff like that. So, having said that, this is probably my least favorite of the 3 episodes, mostly because it has the hardest time with balancing story to content, to erotic content. So you have a lot of rushing through the story, but also then rushing through some of the more, like some of the erotic scenes. And it didn't feel like they could balance the content out well enough with what they wanted to do. Do I think it needed a 4th episode? No. The story was done. This was as far as you were going to take it. But they really tried to jam in a lot of stuff with Kotomi in the beginning of the episode and Mayuki in the end of the episode. And I really think they could have taken some of the Kotomi stuff and shortened it and just left the Mayuki stuff as it was to slow down the pace. Because as it is, you kind of lose track of everybody. You don't know where anybody is at any time. It doesn't help that all of the sets and backgrounds and all the background illustrations look the same. So characters just seem to be hopping around in different rooms. It's really, really not easy to keep track of like the locations of people or where anything takes place. And I know that's not a big deal for most people because they're not really here for that. But it was very annoying to me. I'm like, wait, where are they now? What's going on? How did this happen? Aren't these people supposed to be in this room with them? No? Okay. This also really tightens the focus to Kenta, Mayuki, and Kotomi, as well as with Isaku, We do get a resolution to Minamatsu, or what is it? Munemitsu. I hate his freaking name. Because I can't remember it. So his ending is actually kind of satisfying because basically Isaku turns on him. Munemitsu. I'm sorry to anyone who has that name. For my American brain, it's just, for some reason, it's not sticking. I don't know why. But basically, Isaku turns on him and makes him watch horrible things happening to Kotomi. And it breaks Munemitsu. And he ends up just as mind broken as every other person in this. He falls victim to Isaku just like all of the characters before him. And as he started out as one of his right-hand men, he is now just a part of the pile of degraded people that Isaku is running through. And run through he does. Kotomi in this one actually kind of has a shift, because while we see Mayuki dealing with the guilt of Kotomi getting caught, we also see the anger Kotomi has towards Mayuki for everything she's gone through, because Mayuki gave up her, even if it was inadvertently, gave up her location, and Isaku was able to get a hold of her. So there is a scene where Isaku basically tells Kotomi, what do you want me to do to Mayuki? Mayuki has stepped up and is like, I will take your place. I will step in, let her go, and I will be your victim. And instead of just letting Kotomi go, he makes her say what is going to happen to Mayuki. And Kotomi makes Mayuki go through some very horrible stuff. A lot of it is, the worst of it is actually off screen. This show has boundaries on what it will and will not show on screen. And it really leaves the worst of it to your imagination. It doesn't even play sound effects or anything like that. We do get a repeat of the fleet situation from the first episode, or from the second episode. The ending, we do not get that. We don't see anything. That scene is done. It actually is, it's Kotomi making it happen to Mayuki, and it is, again, quite horrifying. We do learn a little more about Shinpachi and why he is participating and why he is... The characterization of Jinpachi is very confusing to me. Because in the first episode, they play him as very evil. Like, in a few scenes. And then they kind of soften him up. By this episode, you then learn that he's participating because Isaku found out that Jinpachi was taking pictures of Mayuki and selling them. And he was blackmailing Jinpachi into participating, trying to make him more, I guess, sympathetic, which he's really not. And you notice in all of this, I have not brought up Kenta, our hero. Kenta is useless. He is the most useless hero I have ever seen in one of these things. The real hero of this story is Mayuki. Because when we get to the end, after everything that poor girl has been through, after everything that has happened, Isaku is getting ready to burn the school down with all of the students in it, with all of the kids that he's kidnapped. He's about to burn the school down and kill everybody to cover up his crime. And she is like, screw that. She tackles him, knocks the lighter out of his hand, and lights him on fire. She's the hero. Kenta kind of runs in and like clocks him when he tries to like grab her, but Kenta is useless. If he wasn't in this story and Mayuki was the hero, like the pure hero, I actually think this would have been a better story. I personally like Mayuki as a character. I think she actually has a decent arc across the 3 episodes. It's very consistent. She is the most interesting of the characters because she has the added weight of understanding what happened to her sister and learning that, yes, it was Isaku who had assaulted her. And in the end, she still comes out as the winner because she is a tough-ass woman and she is not taking shit from some creepy old dude with an ugly penis. And I am very proud of her by the end of that show. So, Mayuki, like Mayuki. Kenta just is there. He's just there. He's the guy that everyone wants to screw. I don't know why. I don't see the appeal. Even if the other guys are evil assholes, you know, lesbianism is an option. So, overall, Isaku is actually a pretty solid little horror series. Deals heavily in dark erotica, definitely heavily in the non-con area. And if that is a no-go for you, skip this one. Just don't even look at it. There is not a romantic love scene to be found in this entire series. It is all dark and demented and sick and twisted. And it really wasn't, it's not my favorite type of show, but for what it is, I think they did a good job with it. Even if I artistically don't think they made the best choices, it is very murky and hazy and kind of ugly. But some of the character designs are quite good. I actually really like Mayuki's character design. Kenta's character design is actually pretty good. He stands out. And obviously, Isaku is quite... he's quite memorable. He is an ugly SOB. And I know that is a whole genre of hentai, is the ugly bastard. But, like, he's kind of the original. Like, this guy is true ugly bastard. And he is a great villain in the sense that by the end, you despise him. You want him to perish. You want him to die horribly. And he does. So at least we get that. Sadly, Jinpachi and Munamatsu do not die horribly along with him as much as I wish they had. But because Miyuki is not evil, she decides she's going to save Jinpachi and douchebag's life. I hate that name. I don't hate the name. I just hate that I can't remember the vowels, the order in it. Okay. So, wrapping up Isaku. As an overall series, it was an interesting trek into the dark side of hentai. I think it was well done. It definitely played with the audience in the sense that it didn't show you everything. It made you kind of have to imagine the worst of it. And I appreciate that because, and that's actually something, being a horror fan, sometimes it is better to imply than to show. It has more impact. The best example I can give is Jack Ketchum's book, The Girl Next Door. There is a horrifying scene in that book, and it sets everything up. And we're about to see something horrible happen. It involves a fire poker. And the chapter ends before anything happens. And the impact of not showing, even though we're talking written word, the impact of not explicitly describing what happens is so much more effective than by trying to, in detail, describe something horrific. Because you know what's happening. You know the horrors that are being experienced. But your brain is now the thing that is creating it, which also gives you a very weird feeling of being implicit in what is happening. And that is what is kind of going on here. There are times where they choose to cut away. They make choices to not show everything. And I appreciate that from a storytelling perspective and from the way they're creating atmosphere and mood throughout the show, because they do attempt to create an oppressive and kind of creepy atmosphere. And I appreciate that throughout the series. It is not my favorite, but is definitely not something that I would be horrified to ever sit through again. Probably going to be a long time before I sit through it again, because that's a lot of assault. So, we are leaving Pink Pineapple for our next series. This is the end of Isaku. So we are going to move on to another series, and we're going to actually be jumping into a shorter series. It's 2 episodes from Green Bunny called L. This is kind of like a spies, action, adventure, sci-fi kind of series. Beautiful artwork. You'll probably see some of it in the thumbnails. And if I actually, you know what, I'm going to try, if I can find some good DVD artwork that I can actually show you guys, I will pop some up here. So you guys get an idea of what the character designs look like. Very bright, colorful, bold. And I'm going to be interested to see this, because I did see this when New Tech originally released the English release. And I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember the quality of it, because here's the thing. Box art, still art, looks gorgeous in most of these shows. The second you have to animate any of these characters with the budgets that these shows have, whoo doggy, they go downhill. So we'll see how that one turns out. So next Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, you will be seeing me cover the first episode of L from Green Bunny. All right, guys. So as I say on the end of all of my shows, be it here or Trash with a capital T, love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, and since this is hentai, happy fapping. Bye, guys.